Hi everyone, and welcome back to Queen G's Recipes. And today I'm going to be showing you a very traditional and classic Portuguese recipe, which is Pasteis de Nata, which is Portuguese custard tarts. You will find these anywhere around the world where you find a Portuguese bakery or cafe. You will find these tarts for sale there. They are most definitely the most popular tarts in the world. Amazing, delicious, just perfect. And today I'm going to show you guys how to make them so you can make them for your family and friends. So let's go over the ingredients we'll be needing. So here I have 2 rolls of puff pastry. You can find this in your frozen section of your grocery store, where you will find the frozen fruit and the frozen pie shells, things like that. You will find these there. Also, we are going to be needing 1 cup of sugar, a pinch of salt, a tablespoon of vanilla extract. We're going to be needing 1 1/3 cups of heavy whipping cream. In here I have 3 tablespoons of cornstarch and a very small pinch of cinnamon. That is optional, so that's up to you if you want to add the cinnamon or not. And here we have 7 egg yolks, just the yolks. Now I also have 2 muffin liners, which I have sprayed with some non-stick spray, and you don't want to grease them too much, just very lightly. Now for our puff pastry, I usually like to remove it from the freezer a couple hours before I need it. Now what I do is I leave it in the fridge and allow it to defrost at the right temperature for a few hours, and then we're ready to use them, because it is butter based, and definitely if you leave it at room temperature it'll become too soft and you won't be able to work with it. So also I wanted to let you know that the puff pastry that I'm using is a 454 gram package, so you're going to need about that. And now we are going to cut our pastry in small portions. I will show you how I will be doing it here. Okay, so the puff pastry comes rolled in this type of wax paper or maybe parchment paper, and all I did was I unrolled it, removed the parchment paper, and now I'm just going to roll it back up again. Okay, make sure that's nice and tight here. All right. And now I'm going to take my knife, I'm going to cut it in half. Okay, then we're going to cut it in half again. And then in half again to our pieces here. In half here. Okay. We're going to do the same on this side. All right. So there we have it. We have 8 even portions here. I'm going to do the same thing to my other puff pastry roll here, and then we're going to move on to the next step. Okay, so most definitely if you wanted to make your own puff pastry at home, you can go ahead and do it. I just find it's very time consuming and definitely not worth it to make this recipe. It is so easy to just buy some puff pastry already made, and it is inexpensive. So to me it's easier that way, but you do it exactly the way you want to do it. So I'm always trying to make recipes that'll make your life a little easier. So let's move on. So I'm going to take one of my pieces of puff pastry here that we have cut, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it here and mush it into the bottom, okay, and bring it up along the sides. Now the middle of my puff pastry is still a little firm, so it's not fully defrosted, so you need to make sure that it is fully defrosted. And just keep pressing it into your pan. Okay. All right. Now make sure you don't leave a very thin layer. It needs to withstand the custard, but it will puff up in the oven, so. And that's about it. The first one was a little difficult only because my puff pastry was still a bit firm in the middle because it was still a little bit frozen. So I'm going to continue on making my little tartlets, my puff pastry little tartlets here, and then we'll move on to cooking our mixture. So you're also going to need a saucepan, and if I haven't already mentioned, you need to preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so with our stove turned off, we are going to add in our dry ingredients. So sugar, cornstarch, and cinnamon. Oh. Alright. We're going to add in our pinch of salt. Okay. And we're just going to give this a dry mix here, just to make sure we don't have any clumps of anything. All right, now we're going to add in our eggs. Vanilla, our heavy cream, right, and we're going to give this a nice mix before we put our stovetop on. Okay, so now we put our stovetop on medium-high heat, and you need to keep an eye on this just to make sure it doesn't scorch or nothing sticks to the bottom of your pan. And you're going to continuously stir, especially as it thickens. You have to continuously stir the mixture. But as the mixture is just slowly coming up to temperature, we're just going to give it a stir every 30 seconds or so, not leaving this area until this is completely finished, because once it burns or clumps up, there is no turning back. So just keep an eye on it. And now we're going to allow the mixture to come to a boil, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so my mixture has come up to a boil, and now stirring continuously as it thickens. Okay. It's been about 8 minutes, so that's how long it took to come up to a boil. And I never changed the temperature. It was always on medium-low heat. So after it starts to boil, as you can see the little bubbles here, when you start to see that in your mixture, leave it for about 30 seconds to a minute as it thickens, and then remove it from the stovetop, and you're ready to fill your tarts. Okay, so this looks good. Now I'm going to remove it from my stove, and we're going to prepare our tarts. Okay, so so now I'm just going to use my ice cream scoop, but you can use whatever you'd like to fill them, whatever is easier for you. And now with our hot mixture, we're just going to place it in our puff pastry tartlets here, okay? Okay, so now we're going to place these into our preheated oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And we are going to allow the puff pastry to puff up nicely, become all golden, and allow our custards to become nice and golden. I'll let you know what they look like as soon as they're done and how long mine took in the oven. Okay, so my custard tarts were in the oven for about 13 minutes. Now, just a tip, if you want to leave them in the oven at like 500 degrees Fahrenheit, I mean like the highest temperature, not broil, but on regular temperatures, if you want to put the temperature at about 500 degrees or so, you can do that, but it will be less time in the oven, so you're gonna have to keep an eye on it. So there's two choices. So if you want to do that, that's fine, but this is what they look like, nice and golden on the top. So we need to allow them to sit in our pans for at least 15 minutes, and before trying, I would say half an hour to an hour. They need to completely set because the custard is still really soft right now. So I'm going to allow them to sit for 15 minutes. We're going to plate them. We're going to wait another half an hour to an hour, and then we're going to try them. Okay, so now we are ready to try our custard tarts. I can't even tell you guys how good it smells in here, and I am dying to try one. Now, I did also want to let you guys know that this recipe can be made in a couple of ways. Now, for the custard, it can be made as we made with cornstarch. If you don't have cornstarch on hand, you can use flour. Now, in other recipes as well, as I mentioned, there are a couple ways of making the custard for these tarts. There is just the pure egg custard where we would be adding more egg yolks to make it a thicker consistency, but the cooling time is much longer and it does take longer until you can actually have them and serve them. So this is the recipe that I like to make because I find with the cornstarch or flour, it becomes the perfect consistency. You don't have to wait as long to serve them, and eating them just warm is actually perfect. You don't have to worry about the custard dripping out. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. And now we are ready to try one. They are so delicious, exactly like what you buy at the bakery. So I really hope you guys give these a try. One more tip. When baking your custards, you need to make sure that you allow the puff pastry to become nicely golden brown, or else the bottom of the tart won't be fully cooked. So you need to make sure that that happens. So that's about it. All the tips and tricks that you need to know to make these wonderful Portuguese Pasteis de Nata. So I really hope you guys give these a try. Don't forget to give the video a nice big thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to share it with your friends, share it with your family. Make these, give them away. Even if you're hosting a party, you know, you can double the recipe. Just enjoy it and have fun with the recipe. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already so you can see my future delicious recipes and uploads. So that's about it. Take care. See you in my next video. Bye everyone.